This is a follow-up to Board Game with Spin Wheel Part 2. That's what I have opened. And in this follow-up, which is Board Game Spin Wheel Part 3, we're going to do a few things. We're going to make it that the stops and start buttons are only available to be clicked on when they're needed. And we're also going to create some what's called global variables so we can display the number that was spin. What the spin was, and that can also be used to keep track of where each player should be at the end of each spin. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is I don't want, if I look here and lock all my layers, if I click on this button layer little eyeball and look up, I'll see that my buttons are on the same layer. I don't want that. So with the layers locked, select the buttons layer, come down here and insert two layers, 1, 2. Click on the bottom one, call that start, S-T-A-R-T, B-T-N, so that's where the start button is going to be, and the one above it, S-T-O-P, B-T-N, so that there's two different layers for those buttons. Let's click on the start button to start with. I got to unlock the buttons layer. I have the buttons layer unlocked. I want to click on the first frame, come up here, double click on the stop button, and when I do, that puts me inside that movie clip. See, it says stop button, and that word stop is not on this movie clip. It's on the main timeline. So come down here, lock this layer, insert a layer, call it text, T-E-X-T, pick up your text tool over here and make a text box, open the properties panel. I want it to be static text, 13 fonts. I want to embed it, so embed, upper, lower, numbers, punctuation, click OK, and right here stop, S-T-O-P, oops, right stop, S-T-O-P, pick up your selection tool and drag that down, and using your arrow keys put that in the middle, and I'm just checking sure to make sure I have it static text. Okay, go back to scene 1. Now click on it, it's highlighted, you see that. I get that crosshairs, right click, cut it right out of there, go up here to where the stop button is, select frame 1. Okay, come up here, right click, paste in place, and there's my stop button. And if I look, it's on all 3 frames. Okay, go back to this buttons layer, click this frame 2, double click on the start button. We're inside of the start movie clip. Pick up the text tool, right start, S-T-A-R-T, start. Pick up your selection tool and drag that down into the middle. Actually, let's do the same as we did the last one. Let's cut that. Let's lock this layer, insert layer, call it text, T-E-X-T, come up, select that, come up here, paste it in place, and get the crosshairs, and use your arrow keys. Back to scene 1. With the start button highlighted and the crosshairs, right click, cut that, go up to the start button, second frame, insert a blank keyframe, come up here, right click, paste in place. So that's there. Now we can delete this buttons layer, click delete layer, and up here you have something called button labels. This one here, that's that start up here. Right click, delete that layer. And now there's our buttons on their own layers so I can work with them. Now we got to do some code. Make sure all the layers are locked. Select frame 1 of the ActionScript layer. Open the Actions panel. And when we're on this frame 1, I don't want this stop button to be seen. So I'm going to write some code for that. And here, type. We'll make some variables. We're going to make a variable, var, called player position 1, capital P, capital P. It's actually PLAYER POS1, colon, number equals 0, semicolon. Copy that, paste it again. This time make it for player 2. This is what's going to allow us to display where the players should be after a given role. And this is the important one at this time. Stop underscore BTN. That's the stop button right here that we just made. Period visible. VISIBLE. That will turn blue. Equals false. FALSE. That turns blue. Semicolon. So now let's go back to scene 1 for a minute. Unlock the stop layer, select frame 1, click on it, open the properties panel, and indeed has a instance name. So if we try and test it now, the stop button is invisible, so I can't press it. I'm selecting frame 2 of the actions layer. I'm opening the actions code, and up here under my variable, this one here, my global variable, put in another variable. Type. I'm just putting space between them. This variable, var, my global spin, capital M, capital G, capital S. That's what we're calling this global variable. Colon, number, capital NUMBER, turns blue, equals 00, semicolon. So we'll use that later on. And down here, when the start button is actually pushed, we want 2 things to take place. So click here, put an enter in, and type these 2 lines of code. Type. Start button, start underscore BTN, period, visible equals false, semicolon. So we're going to make the start button disappear. I might have said stop. Start button, period, visible equals false. And at the same time, we're going to make the stop button, stop underscore BTN, visible equals true, semicolon. So we're turning off the green button and turn on the red button at this point in time. So let's see if that happens. No errors. There's my start button. It spins. When I click it, the red comes on. When it stops, it stops. Okay, that's what we said we would do. We now want to keep track of which player is actually going to have a turn. So make sure all the layers are locked. Select the player layer. Insert a layer and call it PLAYER TXT, player text. Select frame 2, insert a blank keyframe. Pick up your text tool, open the properties panel. This time we want to make sure we have dynamic text. Select it and make a text box down here somewhere. And if I look, I'm using a 14 font. And open that properties panel and call this PLAYER player shift underscore TXT. That's like an instance name. So there it is. I'm back on my actions frame 2, and right after this wheel stop, I'm going to insert a line, couple lines, and type. we're going to write this. Player underscore text. That's that box I just made. Period. T-E-X-T. T-E-X-T turns blue. It's going to equal to, open bracket, quotation mark, the word player, capital P-L-A-Y-E-R, close quotation. And before I put the close quotation, there's a space in here. Space. Plus, string, capital S-T-R-I-N-G. This string word turns blue. This here will turn green. After string, I have an open bracket. Player count, capital P, capital C. That's the variable that keeps going back between a 1 and a -1, I believe, to tell you, or excuse me, a 1 and a 2 to tell me which player is actually supposed to play. Close bracket, semicolon. Okay, I'm going back to the main timeline, and now I think we got to work. I'm locking all my layers, and now I think we got to work on the spin wheel, I believe. So let's go to the library, open the spin wheel, the wheel movie clip, check the action frame 1, open it up, and we have to make another variable here. So type variable, VAR. This time is called global spin, capital G, capital S, colon, movie clip, capital M, capital C, turns blue, equals, movie clip, capital M, capital C, open bracket, root, close bracket, semicolon. From there is blue to here, not the semicolon. Alright, now, I don't know if you know this trick or not. Right here, there's a little arrow. Click on this. That gives me all my frames information. And you should have the wheel movie clip. Click on that. And I want to look at frames 2 down to 7. That's where the rolls are. So click on this one. And I don't want any traces. So right here, // get rid of that trace. // get rid of that trace. And I don't want this movie clip parent to be here anymore. So get rid of that. That's on frame 2. Frame 3, same thing. Get rid of that, / get rid of that, //. The reason I don't remove them is because I might need them for troubleshooting later on. Frame 4, and I have too many traces, and I know these traces prove that these part work, so I don't need them now. Frame 5, frame 6, frame 7, and not frame 8. Good. And what those are is that's those frames right here that we just did. Now I want to go back to frame 1 for a minute of this wheel movie clip, and we are making what's called a global variable, and we're going to got to connect two things. So add a new line and type. So global spin period my global spin equals, and I just gave it this value of 300. Okay. This is going to link this variable to the one called my global spin, which we made on the main timeline. Now we're going to update them, this global spin. I'm going back to show you for a minute, in these frames here. So I'm back on my action script. I'm going to go up to frame 48, and right before this stop, I'm going to put an enter and type this. Global spin period my global spin equals 1, semicolon. So when I'm told to stop on this particular frame count of 1, I'm going to put 1 in that variable on the main timeline. Copy this. This is 48. The next one would be 52. Enter, paste it in. Change the 1 to a 6. See the 6 here? Change the 1 to a 6. Because if you look at the spin wheel up top, there's a 6 in it. This is 52. Now I want 56. Paste. You got it. This becomes a 2. I want 60. Paste. This is to be a 4. 64. Paste. This is number 5. And finally 68. Paste, and this becomes a 3. Now, before we go any further, I want to close this little box. I want to go to the main timeline again. I want to go back to scene 1, and I want to put some frame labels. So select this player text box layer, insert a layer, and call it frame, F-R-M num, N-U-M, as in frame numbers. Click here, here, and here. Right click, convert to blank keyframes. So I have 2 blank keyframes. Select this one right here. Open the properties panel and call this move, capital M-O-V-E. Enter. And when I hit the enter sign, a little flag goes in there. I'm selecting frame 2 of that layer and calling this one spin, capital S-P-I-N. And again, a flag appears in there. Okay, we can lock that layer. I'm going to lock them all. Open up the library again. Open up the Wheels movie clip. And we're going to add some code to these frames again. So select this one here. Open the Actions panel. Open this little side panel for a minute. This is frame 48. And right after this stop, put in an enter and type this code. Movie clip, capital M, capital C, turns blue. Open bracket, parent, P-A-R-E-N-T, close bracket, parent turns blue. That's going to send me back to frame, or to the main timeline, scene 1. Period, go to and stop, small g, small t, capital A, capital S, that turns blue. Open bracket, quotation, move, close quotation, close bracket, semicolon. This turns green, and that's that frame we just gave the name to, move. Copy that. This is what gets us to the next frame. Copy that. Open 52. Paste it. Open 56. Paste it. Open 60. Paste it. 64. Paste it. Oops, wrong spot. Control Z, paste it, and 68. Okay, we can close this panel. We can go back to the timeline here. We can go back to scene 1, and now frame 3 of the action script. Open that up, and right after these 4 lines, type in this code. Type. Trace, T-R-A-C-E, turns blue. Open bracket. My global spin. Close bracket. Semicolon. this is going to display on the trace the spin that we got just for troubleshooting purposes. Now, next, this one here, this is a text we got to make. It's called number step underscore text, capital NUM, capital STEPS underscore TXT period. TEXT turns blue equals open bracket string STRING capital S that turns blue, open bracket my global spin, that's one of those variables we made, capital M capital G capital S, close bracket semicolon. Okay, we'll deal with that in a minute. Now we're going to make one more line here and add a line under this. Type to make the stop button become invisible. So it says stop underscore BTN period visible turns blue equals false, false turns blue, and a semicolon. So now we got to make a text box called num step text. So I'm just going to copy this word, copy it. Let's go back to the timeline and let's add another layer. So let's select this layer, text layer right here, this one. Let's insert a layer. Let's call this num STP as a number of steps, for example. Let's select frame 3, insert a blank keyframe. Go to the library, go over here, pick up the text tool, open the properties panel, make sure dynamic is selected. I got around 14 point. Make a box here. Open up the properties panel and type in that thing we copied. Num steps underscore text. So NUM steps underscore text. And now that we have this num text, or what is it called? What is this box called? Num step text. We have it in, and in our action script we have some code written for it right here. Let's test it. I want to show you something here. Test movie test. And you might get an error here that says some kind of an error to do with the fonts. And what you want to do is click dismiss all. That's all you want to do is click dismiss all and come back to this frame 3. Make sure you select this, open the properties panel, it's dynamic text, and make sure you click embed, because for some reason it doesn't embed all of them, and it's probably because the way you're publishing this. So click OK, and now when you test it, let's see what happens this time. You shouldn't get that error that you just had. This one, dismiss all. It seems to come just that first time you run it. When you dismiss all, it seems to be all right. Okay, click start, click stop, and there's the 4. Tell me how many steps to move. Let's try it again. Yes, that's better. Stop it, and this time I should have 5 displayed and 5 is displayed. Alright, I'm back on the main timeline, making sure all my layers are locked, selecting the stop button layer, inserting the layer, and calling it next. N-E-X-T, capital B-T-N, and putting the button here. Selecting frame 3, insert a blank keyframe. I'm going to pick up my rectangle tool. There's the oval tool. I want the rectangle tool. Click on the corner, rectangle tool. I want the outside to be black, and I want some other color to be my fill. And right here, make sure I got this frame selected. I'm drawing a little rectangle. There it is. Pick up my selection tool, highlight it, modify, convert it to a symbol, make sure button is selected, call it next, N-E-X-T underscore B-T-N, copy that, say OK. While it's still highlighted, open the properties panel and paste that in for the instance name. Double click on it. Now we're inside of that button. Lock this layer, insert a layer, call it text, T-E-X-T. Pick up your text tool, open the properties panel, make sure static text is selected, and above here write the word next, capital N-E-X-T. Can't have that color because it's the same color. Go over to the color panel, pick up black for the fill, selection tool, drag this down, and use your arrow keys to sort of center it to where you want it. Back to scene 1. Make sure all the layers are locked. Select frame 3 of the actions layer. Go way down the bottom, at the very bottom. Put a couple enters and type in this code. Type, 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 type. It's that button we just made, capital N-E-X-T underscore B-T-N, period. Add event listener, small a, capital E, capital L, open bracket, mouse event, capital M, capital E, period. Click all capital letters, comma. That is blue, comma. Next move, capital N, capital M, close bracket, semicolon. Here's the function. F-U-N-C-T-I-O-N turns purple. Copy next move, paste it in, open bracket, event, small e, V-E-N-T turns blue, colon, mouse event, capital M, capital E, close bracket, colon, void, void turns the same color as function. And don't worry about this trace. The start button, S-T-A-R-T underscore B-T-N, capital S, period, visible equals true, semicolon. We want to be able to start this thing over again, and we're going to do that by go to and stop, small g, small t, capital A, capital S, that turns blue, open bracket, quotation, spin, close quotation, close bracket, semicolon, that's green, and that's frame 2. So let's test this out and see if anything happens this time that's different. We should be allowed to let the next player play. That's player 1, spins, stops, he moves 1 space, press next, player 2 can spin, it stops, 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4, next. It should go back to player 1. That's enough for this video, quite long. Another follow-up, it will be Board Game with Spin Wheel Part 4.